Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to call to order the regular council meeting of September 6, 2017 at 7:05. First item on the agenda is confirmation of the agenda. Anything to add, Councillor Sobel?
I have nothing to add, Your Worship.
Councillor Falkland?
I have nothing to add, Your Worship, thank you.
Councillor Peterson?
I have a question only on number 12. Your Worship. One.
Councillor Buell?
Yes, Your Worship. I just had a question concerning the creation, a question to admin about the creation of a potential new committee.
Where would that, you want that?
Number 12.
Yes.
12.1, please.
Yeah, 12.1.
Your Worship, I apologize. I also have an item under 12.
12.2?
Has to go through third now.
Administration?
Your Worship, just one addition under 8 committee reports, 8.2 monthly council committee reports.
Thank you. Would someone like to move the adoption of the agenda?
So moved, Your Worship.
All in favor? Carried.
Maybe James says.
Okay. First item on the agenda is, I understand, James, we have a new employee. Would you like to introduce him to Mr. Simpson?
Yeah. I'd just like to introduce Jim Simpson, he's our interim director of community services. Jim, council, comes in.
Welcome to Strathmore. And also, we have a presentation here for a CAMA Long Service Award recognition. And this is from CMA. That's to Mr. James Thackeray. We ask that you assist us in recognizing Mr. Thackeray by perhaps making a presentation of this, and we have a presentation for him, for his ongoing support to the municipal profession, and for the part that he continues to play in helping to make CAMA the leading organization in fostering and sustaining municipal excellence. Our sincere gratitude to you for your continued support of this valued CAMA member and dedicated employee of your organization. Thank you very much. And we have a presentation for you, James. I would like all the council to come with us. We'll go in our corner here.
Was the other paper for his 150?
I don't know.
Did you get pictures of him when he received the Canada 150? He did?
We'll go there.
What are we doing? Right here? Oh.
Can you look here, please? Can you two move up just a little bit more? Thank you.
Congratulations once again on being a council.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
We have some delegations. Next item on the agenda is Strathmore District Chamber of Commerce. State your name and welcome.
Welcome, thank you, Your Worship and council members. I'm David Wilkes. I'm the treasurer of the Chamber of Commerce. And so I thought, thank you very much for allowing a few minutes for us to provide you with an update on the Chamber's activities and events. So on October 5th, we are looking at a candidates forum for the upcoming municipal election, and we're partnering with the Strathmore Times, and we're looking at hosting the event at the Civic Center, and through Mario Prasini of the Strathmore Times, he will be providing further details on that event, on format and exact time, and so that will be forthcoming. And also, on October 17th, we have a presentation that the Chamber is hosting alongside with Bow Valley College and Community Futures. And what they're doing are reviewing the results of their recent business survey. They went out and did an extensive survey with 200 businesses, and so they're really excited about sharing the findings of that report on October 17th. And further details will be announced exactly where and at what time on that day. And we're really excited about the Small Business Awards banquet that we're having at the Civic Center at 5 p.m. on Thursday, October 19th. And the theme we have is honoring our past, present, and future. And we have 6 nomination categories, and one of the categories is Most Historical Impact Award. And we also have our keynote speaker is Todd Hirsch. He's the ATB Chief Economics Officer of ATB Financial. And we also have confirmation that Derek Philbrand, our MLA, will be in attendance, and we've extended an invitation to our Mayor, Michael L. And so we're really looking forward to this event celebrating Small Business a Week. So we look for,
David?
yes.
What day was that?
That is on Thursday, October 19th. That's, yeah, that's at the Civic Center, and we're looking at a 5 p.m. Start there. And I just want to let you know that what we've done at the Chamber, as well as we recently invested in our technology. We've upgraded our laptop, and with the help of and support of Town of Strathmore, our financial position is pretty strong, and we're able to invest and upgrade in our technology. We had a really old laptop, and our software is outdated, so everything's been upgraded, and our executive director was able to, for example, purchase some software that would normally run in the $1,000 mark. We went through a company called TelSoup, and they provide software for nonprofit organizations, and we were able to get an office suite and a number of other programs for only $200. So, and that'll help us to be more efficient in the future, and as well we have security as well, so we're well protected, and we're looking forward to benefiting from that new technology. So I thought I would provide a quick update from the Strathmore District Chamber of Commerce.
Thank you. Well, thank you very much, Dave. I want to congratulate you and the Chamber for moving along at such great speed. There seems like things are happening, and we appreciate that as a council very much. Thank you. Any questions from council?
Just congratulations.
Thank you. Congratulations from everybody. Next item on the agenda is 4.2, STARS request for funding. Do we want to make a motion there? Is that for information, or do we need a, no? Thank you. 4.2, STARS request for funding, page 7. Somebody speak to that?
Worship and Council, thank you so much for giving me this opportunity to bring you some information about STARS. My name is Glenda Fondon, and I am the Senior Municipal Relations Liaison for Alberta. So I think we'll just get started here, and wanted to bring you some key information. I had the opportunity, I've been working for many years now, about the past 11 years, working with municipalities all across the province, working more closely with Wheatland County as well, and had the opportunity last year when I was presenting to Wheatland County to meet your mayor as Mayor L. So he had said that, you know, it would be key information and a great opportunity to bring to your council the information that I've been sharing with all the municipalities. So first, I want to bring you some changes here. In this last year, this is actually in no way changes how the call process starts when, you know, someone calls into 911 and resources are accessed. This is more to emphasize and enhance the medical side. So last year, working very closely with 911 dispatch, we implemented the Red Patient Referral System. So what this is that we have access to almost 100 STARS physicians now, emergency physicians, across the 3 provinces that we serve, Alberta, Saskatchewan, and Manitoba. So it made great sense to use that high-level education and their expertise in the critical care field when calls are coming in, when they are of a critical nature. So now, when calls come in and they are deemed that they are of a critical nature, then STARS physicians will have all medical oversight on all those critical care calls. So regardless if the patient is going to go by ground ambulance or fixed wing or STARS, the STARS physicians will implement and have the medical oversight for those critical care patients and decide the best mode of transport as well as the best destination for that patient. So this is just an enhancement on the critical care side. As well, we are averaging 5 missions per day within Alberta itself. It's important to always remember that, I don't know if any of you have had the opportunity to see the medical interior of the helicopter, then you would know that it's very much equipped as an airborne intensive care unit. And that factor is really critical in the fact that we can bring that critical care piece right to the patient. So the critical care begins as soon as we reach the patient. And of course, we continue to provide bed-to-bed or scene-to-bed advantage, which can greatly reduce the stress that's imposed, especially on trauma or critical patients. So I wanted to bring you a little bit of an insight as to what does that critical care piece mean and show you some of the more highly specialized pieces of equipment that we have. Now, everything I'm going to show you, every single helicopter is equipped exactly the same, so there is no impact to patient care. So our newest piece of equipment is the Hamilton T1 transport ventilator. It's very much equipped. It's exactly like what they would have in the tertiary care centers, but just very much more compact. How this differentiates, though, from what we previously had on the helicopter is the fact that this transport ventilator accommodates all sizes of patients. So from adult to pediatric, even down to neonatal. As well, we have the iStat Lab. This is a handheld device that with only a couple of drops of blood, we can have blood results instantaneously in the air. Now, it's really vital that not only for hemoglobin, that you have blood gas results, especially if you're ventilating a patient, as well as electrolytes. When you're running very high-level pain management, maybe 2 or 3 different types at the same time, it's really important that you're able to have those electrolyte test results as well. Or the EZ-IO drill. I've never had this opportunity before to be able to show people what it looks like. It's just a very small little drill. I know I have a lot of people that always kind of cringe when I talk about this. This is only used in very time-sensitive, life-threatening cases when we must have IV access immediately. So it just drills immediately into a shoulder bone or a leg bone, and then we can have IV access immediately. And they say it is no more painful than starting a regular IV. All of the helicopters are equipped with a 12-lead ECG as well as defibrillator, so it's really important, especially for stroke victims, cardiac patients, that we're able to run a 12-lead heart strip for heart pacing, as well as we carry a plethora of preloaded, ready-to-go medications. Any of the high-level narcotics that you're going to find in the tertiary care centers, we have on the helicopter, including the thrombolytics that we're able to give for heart strokes, for heart patients, especially if there is a clot. We can break that up immediately. In the case of a query stroke, then we would take the patient to the nearest hospital that has a CAT scanner in order to prove that it is the type of stroke that warrants giving thrombolytic drugs. As well, we always carry a physician's kit. We have physicians fly on about 20% of our calls, so they have the capacity to have that physician-to-physician consultation, especially with the rural healthcare centers, and as well to start a central line in the heart if needed, or even insert a temporary pacemaker. All helicopters are equipped, of course, with the 3-in-1 IV pump, which has, again, it's a very more compact, but the same as what you'd find in the tertiary care centers, capability of running 3 different lines and 3 different medications at the same time. Oxygen and, of course, resuscitation and suction equipment are all also built into the helicopter. A video laryngoscope is one of our later pieces of equipment, newer pieces of equipment. The paramedics are saying it's an absolute game changer. So our STARS paramedics are world-renowned, known for their intubation skills, being able to breathe for a patient when they can no longer breathe for themselves. This is just taking that one step higher, not only in the interest of patient safety, but as well in the interest of patient care. It has a light and a camera on the end of the scope that has to be inserted down your throat, past your vocal cords, into the lungs in order for them to be able to breathe for a patient that cannot breathe for themselves, as well as it will show up on the video screen, as you can see. So you can certainly appreciate in a moving helicopter in the dark at night how this could really advance the safety and the patient care aspects. And of course, portable ultrasound. This is key in being able to detect collapsed lungs, as well as any kind of internal bleeding in the belly. So again, a really key aspect in us being able to determine and diagnose what we are dealing with. And of course, now we have universal blood on board. This is blood that can be accepted by any one of us. And we are the first in Canada to bring this life-saving measure right to the scene of an accident now. And it is absolutely, we are seeing magnificent improvements in patient outcome, as well as the fact that it is saving lives. So I wanted to bring you a good news story about blood on board. And this is Jen Oaks. She was one of our more recent STARS VIPs who had a boating accident and actually went under the boat, and her leg was partially severed, and she absolutely would not be here today if we did not have life-saving blood on board, able to give her multiple transfusions en route to the hospital in order to buy her that life-saving time that she didn't bleed out. She went on last year to represent Canada in the Paralympics, in the Women's Sitting Volleyball Championship, has still returned to university now, still playing volleyball with a prosthetic leg, even had the opportunity to share her story with the Duke and Duchess of Cambridge. So here's an idea of what types of missions do we fly. So you can see the need and the demand. The majority is for the general public. More than 50% are medical emergencies. And then motor vehicle collisions, trauma-related, recreational, those sledders and quadders out there. Now, on-site workplace and agricultural accidents at the top there. Now, those are specific to being actual industry on-the-site accidents or in the field, like, heart attack or stroke maybe on the combine. So there are parts of on-site workplace and agricultural incidents within those other areas of trauma-related motor vehicle collision or medical emergencies, so if they happened other than actually in the field. So STARS is fueled by generosity. I want to bring you a little bit of an update there. So you can see on the right-hand side on the expenditures, The medical and aviation components take up 2/3 of the pie. The smaller pieces continue to be, base operations or dispatch and administration costs. We're at 14%. That is well below the CRA allowable of 35%. We do our very best to keep that in check. Now, on the funding side, you will see 20%, and the red piece of the pie, that represents the government funding that we receive in Alberta alone for 3 bases in Alberta. That leaves 80% that has to be continually fundraised. So I broke that down for you. Of that 80%, about half is generated through the lottery, a STARS lottery, our calendar campaign, and our site registration program, which is largely used by industry, and it is our only revenue-generating program. Last year was the very first year in 24 years that STARS was threatened to not have a sellout in the lottery. We're the only charitable lottery in Canada that has had a sellout 23 years straight. Now that right there is a testament on how Albertans feel about having STARS available to them. So when we're still left with, roughly $15-16 million a year that has to be generated from individuals, from our corporate sector, and our municipalities that have been partnering for many, many years. So let's have a look at the Wheatland County missions. So I want to give you a good solid overview here of what's happening within your county, and then at the bottom there in red, specifically the town of Strathmore. So you can see that you do have a very busy hospital that has had a lot of critical incidents where we need to take that patient to a higher level of care, as well as scene and search and rescue calls, which would be right within your immediate vicinity of your town of Strathmore. So together, if we're talking just town of Strathmore, you're averaging overall about 18 missions per year between your interfacility transfers and your scene or search and rescue calls. So now when we're talking about Wheatland County, because we all do travel, for work or for play. We go into neighboring municipalities. Maybe we travel to Calgary and other areas for work. So then we're looking at an average of about 31 missions per year just within Wheatland County. So 2 or 3 every month. So I want to give you an idea just on what would that represent. If we were talking mission-related costs only, nothing else that entails being able to have STARS available and have a base and all the other aspects, just the mission-related costs on 31 missions per year, it represents over $225,000 a year of services to Wheatland County residents. So for town of Strathmore at 18 missions per year, you're looking somewhere in the $125,000 range each year of mission-related costs for your residents. So it's important that, we talk about, our neighbors and what's happening in our little corner of the world, so to speak. So now we're looking at 3 to 4 missions every week, just in our little corner of the world here with our bordering neighbors. So I wanted to bring you this is a municipal initiative that's been going on for many years, and it's a partnership of all rural municipalities. So you can see that we're reaching 90% of rural municipalities who are partnering. The majority are giving at a $2 per capita rate each year, and ranges up as high as we have several that are in the $20 to $30 per capita range, and one that is giving $65 per capita and has been for the last 10 years. So significant value there in partnership in order to protect and preserve STARS for Albertans and for our future generations. So this gives you an idea. Now with the yellow stars, if you can, I'm sorry it's a little bit difficult to see here. This is our urbans that have starting to partner. Now we have unanimous support of towns and villages throughout the northern area. And now you can see at Flagstaff, now they have rallied together their entire area to be supportive. And we are getting some interest now through Wheatland County and further south as far as joining this partnership in building annual sustainability for STARS to offset that $16 million a year we must find. It's really important that we continue to unite together. So currently, This is generating $1.7 million annually in sustainability from rural and urbans, giving anywhere from $2 per capita up to $65 per capita. So I want to thank you again for this opportunity to present to you. I would like to ask for your kind consideration to think about joining the municipal initiative. I'd like to ask you for consideration of $2 per capita. I realize that that sounds like a big chunk of money. In the real scheme, if you're thinking, I had another council that said $2 per capita, $2 per person each year. It's less than 1 cup of coffee each year. And even if we were to look at memberships or any of these other aspects, you exclude people, where as we unite together, and if everyone would do a little something, we will continue to have stars available to all of us. There is no cost to the patient. We have been a charitable model now. We are celebrating 32 years this year of serving Albertans. And we want to continue to make sure that we're here for those future generations for the next 32 years. So thank you again for your kind consideration.
Well, thank you very much for your presentation. It's very interesting and very good. We want to especially thank you and your staff and STARS themselves for the great job you do in saving lives in our community and throughout Alberta. So keep up the good work, and we'll discuss this with council and see where that goes. And any other councilors got some questions or comments? If not, thank you very much, and we'll discuss this further, I'm
So I
sure.
appreciate it, and I guess my closing comment would be, we would just appreciate you at any level, just to become a partner and help us to move that forward as we unite Albertans. Thank you so much for your
Thank you.
time.
Thank you very much.
Do you need this as a motion for, no? Does anybody want to make a motion just for presentation or for information?
I'm going to ask later.
Okay, thank you. The next item on the agenda is the Marigold Library, request for loan, page 15.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bribery.
This pen's for my kids.
Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead. I'm tuning my ears in here. That's why I'm with my iPhone. Go ahead.
Your worship and councillors, can you hear me? My name is Michelle Toombs, and I've been the CEO of the Marigold Library System for 8 years. We're headquartered in Strathmore, as you know. And I also want to introduce Linda Lister, who's the chair of the Marigold Library Board, and Gary Billings, who's the treasurer. And also in attendance to support what we were going to tell you today is Dave McAllister, and he's the general manager of Western Irrigation District. John Getz, who would be presenting, I think, at this moment, is not able to come because he had a really nasty gallbladder attack today. So I'm doing the presentation. And I hope that all of you received the letter that we dropped off on July 24th, which outlines what we're going to ask for today and the background that goes with it. But before I move on, I want to thank Denise Peterson very much as the representative on the Marigold Board from Strathmore. We really appreciate your contributions, as we do from Steve and Mayor L, who we've worked with for a year. It's been very wonderful having you. So, skipped ahead here. This is all about requesting a loan for up to $3 million with a formal agreement and mortgage security. We're not asking the town of Strathmore to give us money. We're asking the town to use its borrowing power to acquire and loan us up to $3 million. And we're fully prepared to enter into a formal agreement for repayment. We don't know if we're going to need all of the $3 million. And that is why we're kind of hoping for a line of credit kind of arrangement. For sure, we will be spending the savings that we have in our account, plus the capital infrastructure money that came from the province this year. We're estimating that we'll need the money in about a couple of years. And that would be when the project is well underway and possibly even close to move-in day. We're seeking a long-term fixed interest rate, something like we would get from ACFA, and for payments to be spread over 20 to 25 years, and this will make it more affordable for us. We're budgeting for this to come out of our regular operating money. And if we're able to keep those loan repayments down to about $150,000, then it won't have a great effect on the service that we're offering to our members right now. We're also hoping that we can make repayments in lump sums, such as, for example, if we were to sell our building, we would have some money that we could repay the loan with. Marigold does not want to negotiate a loan with 44 municipalities. That's why we're coming to the town of Strathmore. Plus, we believe that there are advantages and benefits to the town of Strathmore if we are to stay in this location. So, why Marigold needs to borrow? Well, you probably know from the resolution that went forward to AUMA and AMDC last year that we're not in a position where we can borrow directly by ourselves. We cannot go directly to ACFA, and this is prescribed by the Libraries Act. So we're coming to the municipality where we are headquartered, and we are basing what we are asking on a feasibility study that we just did for the past 2 years. We hired an architect, looked at 3 options in the town of Strathmore, and recommended that we purchase property and build a new facility from scratch. From the probable cost lists, he estimated that the cost of a new facility on a different piece of land, which actually at the time was just south of the No Frills grocery store, the total cost of the project, including property and all of the contingencies and everything else that went along with it, would be about $7.7 million. So we think with a little bit of time, we should build in a budget of $8 million. So why Strathmore? Well, there's lots of reasons why we think we should headquarter in Strathmore, and I think one of the biggest for us is that 80% of our staff live in Strathmore, live in the area. They live here, they pay taxes, they support local businesses, the spouses work here too. Also, Marigold has long-standing vendor relationships and relationships with professionals that we hire. That would include banks, accountants, cleaners, landscapers, snow removal, vehicle maintenance, caterers, electricians, contractors. The list is pretty long because we've been here for almost 37 years. Marigold has a great relationship with the mayor and councillors and town staff, and Strathmore is centrally located in our area. So I think I'm advancing my slides without any intention to do so. Yeah.
Faster.
Okay. I know you'd be happy if I spoke faster. It's a big audience today, and you've got a lot in your list.
I'm glad you said that.
So, anyway, we think that there is still a lot of benefit to being in the Strathmore area. That would be our preference. So, could Strathmore locate elsewhere? Yes, that is a possibility.
Good Marigold.
Okay.
Strathmore did reject
Yeah,
it.
really.
They hated it.
That's why I bring helpers. Yes, could Marigold locate elsewhere? Yes, that is possible. Consideration would be given to the municipality which is willing to loan us capital. However, it's our desire to stay here, and we believe that Strathmore gains a lot because we're here. We received invitations from other municipalities, and it's clear that other member municipalities see that Strathmore has an economic advantage to having Marigold here. Strathmore has benefited and will benefit in the future if Marigold continues to be headquartered. And so these additional benefits include the fact that our staff is likely to grow a bit in the future as population grows in our region. The opportunities for employment will come from a building project. With a larger facility and meeting room, we can also be more involved in the community and even possibly offer some community space, much needed community space. With a larger facility, we'll be holding more board meetings locally, and that means bringing board members and their families to Strathmore more often. If it's affordable, the new building will show ways to save energy, will be an example. And also, Strathmore Public Library will continue to benefit as it does with some of the perks for being close to Marigold, such as daily deliveries and on-site meetings and all sorts of deliveries of supplies and so on. And also, the relationship that we have with the Public Library in Strathmore is two-way. We get a lot from them as well. So, talked a little bit about the feasibility study, and I don't think I'll go into a lot of detail because it was in your package and there is a lot of information there. I think what I would like to go back to, though, is the slides of the pictures, just to show you a little bit about what our daily life is like. The first photo in the upper corner is our garage. We have a transit delivery van, and it doesn't quite fit in that garage. Go back to that. It doesn't quite fit. We have actually 3 delivery vans, and lately we've been loading and unloading outside because we need to replace the floor in that facility, but that's coming along very well. We manage actually 6 vehicles, and they're on the road most of the time. In fact, our delivery vans, there are 3 of them on the road just about every day of the week, have made the equivalent of 30 trips to Newfoundland and back in the space of a year. And we also did 224 consultation visits with our professional librarians, as well as 177 IT visits in the space of a year to our members. So the 9 by 9 foot square foot sorting area is what you see on the right-hand side. And that's just sort of one part of one day in the life of our sorting facility. So it's pretty crowded, and still we manage to put through about 1 million books or other items in a year in that space. Taking them out of a vehicle, putting them back into another vehicle is generally how that works. And the last picture in the left lower side is the IT department. And unfortunately, we don't have any place to unbox our computer equipment, to set it up, to test it, to stage it, to store equipment. So we do it on the floor in the aisles. So we desperately need a better space for our IT department. So now, just because I want to move on, it doesn't want to move on. So this is the part where I'm very happy to share with you that we have some exciting news. So after 4 meetings to examine whether our organizations are a fit, Marigold and the Western Irrigation District are prepared to sign a statement of intent to build a co-located, co-owned facility. So this could mean possibly a 40,000 square foot building with some shared space in the middle. And the property that we're talking about, which is illustrated as it whips by you, is just south of the Trans-Canada, near the Golden Hills, south of the Glenwood residential area. And it is ideal from our perspective because it's got good traffic access. We can get in and out. There's adequate space for building a building of 20,000 square feet, which is what we think we need. Also some amenities such as the park space nearby. And WID will be a wonderful partner. They have skills, they have amenities and things that will make the joint project a really special one, we feel. And each stage of the work plan going forward will only commence with the assent of both organizations. So we're actually talking about some common area shared space in the middle of this facility that could include something like a common meeting room. And that would be great. We think we would handle that in a kind of a condominium style arrangement. So. So on Saturday, August the 26th, 4 motions were passed at our board. And I'm just going to summarize them really quickly for you. To proceed with the planning of a new headquarters building in Strathmore, to enter into a joint venture with Western Irrigation District, to give the Executive Committee authority to make money decisions, and to approach the town of Strathmore for a loan. It was also suggested that we approach Wheatland County, and we have sent a request to the CAO, Alan Parkin. We're happy to do that, but this is why it would be so much easier to stick with one municipality. For one thing, the loan prepayment agreement would be easier to manage with just one municipality, and also Strathmore is getting a lot of the direct benefits. Next is the project cost. I've mentioned that it is in the range of $8 million. We won't actually know until we start to negotiate for the property and also put out the tenders. The probable cost in the feasibility study we feel is a close approximation of what we will likely need. So we're also trying to raise money in other ways. For example, we're putting forward a CFEP application here pretty quick. We'll be looking at some other sources like CIP, SIP, and Calgary Foundation. At some point in time, we will sell our property at an opportune time. We're actually hoping the town of Strathmore might be interested in that property, that it is quite well maintained, I would say. And we've just recently done some refurbishment in the basement. We've renovated a room downstairs, and we've also put some steel structure beams below our garage. So we have tried to keep it up, and it is quite presentable for anybody who needs that space. For us, it's not an ideal space anymore because it was built in 1953 with a different purpose in mind, and it's too small, and we can't retrofit it any more than we have already to make it flexible enough for the purposes that we need it for. So we are also meeting with MP Martin Shields. We've done that, and we've met with MLA Derek Fildebrandt, and we're going to the office of MLA Leila Ahir this week. We will continue to meet with MPs and MLAs to see if there's any other sources of incentives out there that we can use for this project. And I think in general that collaboration with WID will be a good project that will gain a lot of attention and maybe some side benefits as well going forward. So I think that is it for my presentation. I hope it covered all the bases. I'm very interested in knowing your questions, and also very grateful for the support you've given us all along, and also for your consideration going forward. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Michelle. Well put together. I want to commend you on all your hard work you people have done so far with you and the WID. I know there's been a lot of work that's been done, and really much appreciated. I, for one, am very excited about the project. I've been on your building committee, and I don't know, maybe you fired me since.
Not at all.
But anyway, Councillor Peterson herself is very excited about this project, and there's so many good ideas that coming out of it. It benefits everybody. Is there any comments or questions from council? Councillor Peterson?
Your worship, I'm prepared to make a motion, but I would wait on if council had further questions, if they had any questions.
Councillor Fuel?
Well, my question through the chair would be to Ms. Toombs, when would you need a decision on this matter? Is it something that you're looking for a vote on tonight?
It would be very helpful if we knew very soon, because we need to know that we have the assurance of that loan coming before we can really progress with other kinds of conversations that we might have, including getting into a tendering process and so on.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Sobel?
So just two issues. Thanks, Michelle, for that. That was lots of good stuff. How many employees are?
There are 33 people on the payroll as of the end of August. There were 4 summer students we had this year, but I wanted to also mention that because of Marigold, there are 36 very vibrant public libraries in the Marigold region,
Right.
and altogether they employ 279 people, and they have over 1,200 volunteers.
Wow.
So I think that while our immediate number of staff is not great, we have an influence that goes well beyond this.
Great, thanks. And I'm not sure, I don't want to, Councillor
You
Peterson.
won't influence me because
No,
I'm just asking
it-
for a letter of intent. That's what you were going to ask,
I was,
right?
no, I just didn't know where you were going with it.
Yeah, yeah.
That's perfect, thank you.
Thank you. I would like if administration would comment on this. Is there any comments? And how about how the loan would come down? I mean,
Why don't you let me make the motion first?
okay, go ahead and make the motion then.
If you're okay if
Do
I
you
make
wanna-
the motion first, and then you could speak to fixing it, maybe?
It's council's meeting, so I.
Well, I just think if I make the motion, then you can help.
Totally fine.
Yeah.
Okay.
If, because I may need that. Thank you, Your Worship. So I would move that administration prepare a letter of intent for the September 20th, 2017 meeting to outline a proposed formal agreement between the town of Strathmore and the Marigold Library that would outline a proposed loan amount, a proposed fixed rate of interest, and a timeline and options for repayment. And Your Worship, if I could speak to the motion.
Go ahead.
So one of the reasons that I would bring this forward through a letter of intent is that, having sat on Marigold, I understand what a strong position, financial position they're in, and they are able to make their repayment based through their operations. And we have our financial guy here tonight, and Gary has done a great job in that. And so they're in an incredibly strong position. So being able to institute something like this is at this point no risk to the town, and indeed reaps much benefit. There are opportunities, as Michelle said, for employment. And one of the meetings that Michelle attended, where the mayor and Councillor Graychuk and I were present the other day, was a group out of Calgary who is proposing to come into this community. They're asking to set up a 3-year pilot project through government initiative for developing underemployment in community. And Marigold is seen as an excellent place as well for people in our community who are currently underemployed, and they really viewed this as an incredible opportunity. The cooperation from 43 municipalities at the meeting we had on August 26th is humbling. Didn't come easy. It's been in the mix since I was elected to council, and it's been humbling to sit at that meeting and watch people try to figure this out and to balance it out against some pretty considerable odds when you have a library system, a regional system, who by dint of poor governance at the provincial level in some ways, lack of understanding perhaps, and old legislation, that they're not allowed to borrow money. And so when the motions were on the other day, and I saw people from Hannah, who a community that's struggling horribly right now in the recession and through the loss of their mines, Special Areas Number 3, Jerry looked across the table and he said, "We can't do much," he said, "but will sure have your back. And he voted for this. And if there was any municipality that really couldn't afford to come forward with that, and yet they're so invested in Marigold that they're willing to do this. So a tremendous vote of thanks. And I'm really grateful to WID, not just for for this opportunity, but for all the other advantages that WID brings to our community. It's so unique and so incredibly significant. And finally, I would just like to say that I stepped off the building committee in Marigold Library because I felt I lacked the expertise necessary to bring to the actual land and development process for this, and I fight with my fellow councillor Graychuck all the time, but I recognize that he has capacity and knowledge in this area far beyond anything that I could ever claim. So I am very grateful for the role that he's played in this because it's been significant. So you've made an incredible team, and I'm just really grateful that this opportunity is in our community. And I would, if I could have our CAO comment on this, I'm sure you have.
By the way, she wins most fights. Go ahead.
Thank you through the chair. Just to clarify council's intention, it would be to prepare a letter of intent between ourselves and certainly Marigold or the partnership to consider a loan up to $3 million or an amount as necessary with some proposed timeline with an interest rate and so forth. And so with that, if council's agreeable, I will take this back to myself and Mel, and we will bring back a proposed draft letter with some options. Mel and I have some thinking on this and how we could do this. Yeah, we can certainly do this. And this would be for the next council meeting.
Or for the 20th, yes. Yes, thank you.
Next regular council. Yep, we can do it.
Well, I just want to make, if I could clarify something, and it's up to council, of course, but clarify something that Strathmore wouldn't have to borrow the money. We got funds that we could lend from various areas that we could transfer.
Well, we have some thinking on that. There are a couple of options. That's certainly one. There's another, what we've been using recently with Bankers Acceptance. We don't propose going through Capital Finance Authority because if the group wants to pay us lump sum, can't do that. So, and that'd be good on our part if they can give us a big lump sum at some point because they want to pay back early or something. Something fortuitous happens. So it gives us a little more flexibility. And what we would want is some collateral. So we would want to charge on title or an interest as collateral in some form or fashion, and we would have to do that.
Yeah. And WID would be okay with separate titles?
That's one of the options.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
All right, thank you. You heard the motion. Any further questions? I'm sorry, Councillor Field.
Thank you, Your Worship. Just a quick question through the chair to admin. I don't want to rain on the parade or anything, but this is the first time I've been through a situation like this in 7 years on council where we're in a position to do this kind of a transaction. Is this a common kind of an occurrence for a municipality to be involved in?
That's a good question. It does happen. We have the ability to do it. I don't think it happens all the time because I think these are unique circumstances with a quasi-autonomous library system such as it is, and the location here, I think it's a unique opportunity. Because most other places, it's either a commission or it's owned by a corporation or other municipal government.
And then just to follow up, if
Go ahead.
if you're okay, Your Worship, would this, just for the public, as far as the public consumption and listening to this and possibly reading about it, would this situation that we're potentially entering into, would this be a good reflection of the current state of finances for the town, that we're able to entertain this kind of a transaction or a deal? Do you understand what I'm saying? If we enter into this type of agreement to loan the money, is this a commentary on the solid state of finances that the town is in currently? Like, do you feel secure in this idea? Thank you.
If you're referring to council's borrowing room, yes, council has the ability, based on what Mel has shared, even with the debt that we've taken on, if it's $1 or $2 million, I'm not sure, I don't know the exact number, that is within our borrowing limit, and it's certainly, we're not even at 50%. So that said, we would prefer to be on the lower end than the higher end. But Mel and I always prefer to borrow less than more. With respect, thank you.
Thank you. I just want to refer to the fact that the economic benefits are what happens to the town of Strathmore from doing this and keeping it here far outweigh anything else. Thank you. Anyway, we have the motion before. Any more questions? Councillor Lopeland.
Well, thank you, Your Worship. Through the chair to Michelle, very nice presentation.
Thank you.
I just have a question. When you said you need to borrow, or the probable cost is going to be roughly $7.78 million, and you, if I heard right, you have $2.5 million in savings,
Yes. Yes, we do.
and
Plus-
you're anticipating on throwing all that money into the cost of the project?
Absolutely. That was a capital reserve, plus a couple of other little reserves that we added into it. 2.5 million is our savings. We have been saving for over 10 years
Okay.
into this. And then on top of that would be the $3,020,000 from the capital infrastructure
Right.
project.
So that was a capital reserve, so you still got reserves for operations?
We have a
Okay,
operating
that's-
reserve of
that's what I
nearly $1
wanted to
million.
know. Yep, thank you.
Any further questions? If not, I'll call the question. All in favor? Councillor Peterson made the motion.
Do you want me to read it, or do you want to read it? You go ahead.
You want to reread it?
Jen can read it.
Your Worship, I have that council instruct administration to prepare a letter of intent between the town of Strathmore and Marigold Library to outline a proposed formal agreement for a loan to the Marigold Library that would outline an amount, a rate of interest, and a timeline for payment, and that the draft letter of intent be brought back to council at the September 20th, 2017 regular council meeting for council's consideration and approval.
Thank you. Any questions? If not, all in favor? Motion carried. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, great presentation.
Next item on the agenda is 5.1, minutes of the July 19 to 17 regular council meeting. Minutes.
I'll move those minutes, Your Worship.
You heard the motion. All in favor? Carried. 5.2, minutes of the July 19 to 17 public hearing meeting minutes of. Entertain a motion.
That's so move, Your Worship.
You heard the motion. All in favor? Carried. Next on the agenda, 7.1, home dialysis grant program, page 61. Is someone going to speak to that?
Thank you, Your Worship. I will speak to that this
Okay.
evening. Earlier this year in August, administration was approached by a citizen of Strathmore who requires home dialysis. That citizen brought forward a request for the town to consider implementing a program to help with the cost of water associated with the treatment. It was explained at the time that home dialysis programs are set up for patients who require dialysis as part of their ongoing treatment. Many times patients require multiple treatments per week. Dialysis is not available in Strathmore, so patients in Strathmore must travel back and forth to Calgary numerous times a week, which is onerous on the patient, both physically and financially. It was explained that dialysis at home increases the amount of time an individual would spend with their family, thereby increasing their quality of life, and also increasing their life expectancy. The Alberta Health provides hemodialysis equipment to patients for their treatments. However, not all costs for those treatments are covered for the patient. Dialysis treatment requires a considerable amount of water that substantially impacts the average bill of a resident undergoing the treatment. Home hemodialysis patients are responsible for the cost of water used in their treatment. Depending on the equipment used and the frequency and length of the treatments, costs could be as high or even higher than $700 a year. This is really challenging to patients who require this treatment, especially those who are on a fixed income. We have the citizen that came forward is here tonight to speak with council if council so chooses, or if council has any questions. Mr. Robert Howe is in the audience for any questions from council. Beyond that, administration is recommending to council to consider approving a home dialysis grant program, which will assist homeowners and provide financial relief for the incremental costs associated with home dialysis. And we're also recommending that council consider writing a letter to the province encouraging them to cover costs for all home hemodialysis treatments. Thank you.
Thank you, administration. Any questions from council? Go ahead, Councilor Pearson.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'd like to move the following motion. I'd like to move that council instruct administration to develop a grant program for home hemodialysis patients in the town of Strathmore to offset the increased water costs associated with home dialysis. And I have a second motion, but I'd like to speak to this motion first.
Go ahead.
So, Mr. Howe is not the first one that I had heard about that was involved in hemodialysis and suffering the effects of having to drive many, many miles a year, and sometimes at great personal cost and wear and tear on health. And when I did my own research into hemodialysis at the Sunridge Clinic and through the University of Calgary research website, the amount of water was amazing to see, because it has to be hooked into the actual sewer system. And as the patient is on hemodialysis for up to 8 hours, my understanding. And so all of the hemodialysis has to be run by water through the system, and so it's quite extraordinary. My information is that the maximum number of people that we've had on hemodialysis at any given time in this community, as far as they understood, was 5, and not all of them had it in their homes, because their water systems in their home, their sewer systems in their homes would not accommodate the system. So I don't believe that this is something that would cause undue strain to the town, but it certainly would give recognition to the province that it is an issue that communities understand. So that is my motion, Your Worship, and
Thank you. You heard the motion. Anybody like to speak to it? Any questions from administration? If not, you've got that. You want to reread the motion, council?
they have it in front of them.
You want to reread it?
Nope.
No, okay. You heard the motion, all in favor? Carried.
Your Worship, I have a second motion.
Go ahead.
I would urge that council send a letter to the Minister of Health encouraging the province to cover all associated costs of home hemodialysis, and that the town of Strathmore, at the next possible opportunity, prepare a presentation to the AUMA in terms of a motion to the floor urging the province to cover all associated costs of home hemodialysis.
Thank you. You all heard the motion. Any questions? Councillor Sobel?
Just a friendly amendment, if we could CC that to our MLA, I think would be appropriate to let our local MLA
Absolutely.
aware that we're doing
Thank
this
you,
and that this is an
Councillor Sobel.
issue. Thank you.
And do you want, this letter would be signed by the mayor and the council or by administration? What do you think?
If I may, I think to council, it should be on behalf of council and the mayor, deputy mayor. I think that would be appropriate if council's amenable to that.
Yep.
Thank you.
You all heard the motion? All in favor? Oh, Councillor, sorry, Councillor Wilkland.
Thank you, Your Worship. Councillor Peterson, on that second motion, I assume you're encouraging the province to cover all associated costs right across the province, or just Strathmore?
No, I think it's one of those.
Going to AUMA.
Yeah, absolutely, going to AMA, that we promote it with the province. And after Mr. Howe spoke to me, I had the opportunity to speak to other elected officials from our our local communities who also have exactly the same issue and are very interested in seeing this. And they equated it to the same thing that happened with type 1 diabetes and how initially so much of the costs weren't covered for, and some still aren't, and so creating great hardship for families, so that urging from the province wound up at just, amounted to a few pennies per person, but alleviated great suffering among the population that really needed the cost. And I just want to say in response to that, Councillor Blockland, a resident of Brentwood, Mrs. Eva Stovka, just lost her husband recently, and she talked about the need for homeodialysis in our community, or hemodialysis in our community, and she said, I just want council to know what a really critical thing it would be to be able to have our own dialysis units in our own hospitals, as well as hemodialysis in our homes, and she really urged council to this end. So thank you.
If I might just add, Your Worship, we've had these discussions sitting on the Handy Bus Association too, where our handy buses are constantly running back and forth to Calgary for a lot of these issues that if we had them in Strathmore, it would sure relieve a lot of costs that way too. If I might just say one other thing, I'm 110% behind this myself. If you look at our water park that services many hundreds of kids over the summer, I can't remember what the water bill on that park is, but it's up there. And I'm fully behind that water park too. I think this is something that's really good for Strathmore. And if we can increase the quality of life and also increase life expectancy for a mere few $700 or $800 a year for a homeowner, to me, there's no question here. Thank you.
Thank you. No further comments? You all have the motion? All in favor? Motion carried. Next item on the agenda would be utility main replacement projects. Mark, you have the floor.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Oh, I'm going up? It's Your Worship, not Your Honor. I've done honor as a judge.
Sorry, Your Worship.
Oh, don't print that one.
Thank you. The 2018 utility main replacement project. Capital projects require a lead time to ensure that they are tendered for both engineering and construction at the opportunity time to take advantage of the best prices from consultants and contractors. Currently, our engineering services providers are procured in the winter, so early January and February, which then means the engineering consultants have to then do all the field work, pick up a survey in the snow. And when we're doing main replacement, sidewalks, curbs, we need to actually have the actual elevation of the roads, and we can't do that until it melts. So that delays the project until their snow is gone. This then pushes our tendering period out farther into early spring. And by doing that, we're kind of late on the game, and we get a shorter construction period for our times. We shorten our construction windows for our contractors. So in order to get the best prices, we're asking for, to get the engineering portion, the design and the pickup, the field work, some budget of money available for these projects or engineering projects in the year before the actual projects. So specifically to this, 2 projects were included in the 2016 fall workshop for the 2018 construction that would benefit early design. These being Glenwood, utility main replacement, and Bayview Road. They are at age and condition that makes them vulnerable to unexpected service interruptions and costly repair. Replacing these helps ensure the continuous flow of water to the community and public health and safety. Both projects have been brought forward as they represent old infrastructure due to replacement, and they are in the greatest number of main breaks that have occurred in the town on an annual basis. Procurement of engineering, if this amendment is accepted, would occur in September and October, and tendering packages for construction would be complete out for tender in February with our end. So we get the best plan. We're going to be early on the construction window, so we're base work versus add-on filler work. So I think we'll get better pricing on that. The financial impact of this, we are asking for council approval for $70,000, which would be drawn from the financial stabilization, to advance these projects this year. The request for the engineering and preliminary design, tendering, construction service, and post-construction we'd ask for all those from the engineering consultant, but we'd only allow for preliminary and detailed design to occur with this funding request, which if the projects don't go ahead, we simply don't have the rest of the budget that we may tender to these people. So the majority of the fees that we have for the engineering is in the 2018.
Sorry, can you just repeat that last part?
So when we go to ask for engineering consultants to give us a proposal, we ask them to give us the full scope from preliminary design, pick up the survey, do the detailed design, make us the tender packages, do the contract award, contract administration, and record drawings and final acceptance completion. That's all going to go out for tender, but we're not actually asking for that. That may be more than the $70,000, but the fees will manage to make sure that we don't go over the 70 in this calendar year. In this calendar year.
Thank you very much. Any, Councilor Fuel?
Thank you, Your Worship. Just a question in general about this procedure. Do you see this as becoming a regular occurrence that we would be looking to pay for early, I'm trying to think of your wording, to do the early procurement?
If I may, if I could respond partially to that through the chair.
Go ahead.
One of the things the new MGA is requiring is multi-year budgeting. And so in order to satisfy that, we're kind of taking advantage of it a little bit, but we'd like to see multi-year capital long-range planning budgets. So we do multi-year approvals so we can capitalize on better purchasing, better lead times, be proactive, and realize the highest and best yield for our every tax dollar that we get. So not only that, but I believe it's best practice if we, as Mark said, we should be going out much earlier, which means we have to front end the work in a previous year, so we need to move to more multi-year budgeting. And we've already started that process, but we want to expand it, and it's going to be mandated in the MGA anyway, so.
So in a way then, Your Worship, if I can continue.
Yes, go ahead.
This is a way of kind of getting up to that kind of a philosophy and approach that we're almost in a way playing catch-up to start the multi-year planning. Okay, thank you.
I, for one, have been pushing for that for years. I think it's a great idea. I mean, there's been so many projects in the past that have been delayed till August, September, because we didn't get all the information in properly. And I think it's a great idea. Commend administration for thinking this way. Thank you. I guess we need a motion.
Your Worship, I would move that council authorize administration to procure engineering services in 2017 for the utility main replacement, Glenwood and utility main replacement, Bayview Road 2018 capital projects, and that, with the maximum expenditure in 2017 of $70,000. Do you need me to state that it comes from financial stabilization with funds to be drawn from financial stabilization?
Thank you, Councilor Fuel. You all heard the motion, but there's no questions. All in favor? Carried. Okay, 7.3 Waste Management Plan, page 65. Now we're recommending what on this? We had an internal meeting prior to, so we're going to discuss it some more, or what is council wishes?
This one's,
Just defer it.
This one's a different one.
This is a different one.
There's two. This is the first one, it's just the program.
Yeah.
Okay. So go ahead.
Your Worship, thank you. The Waste Management Plan. We've had many discussions and many people come together and put together ideas, and we wanted to put together the discussions on the Waste Management Plan and put it down on a piece of paper for council to discuss and understand where we are now and where we're going to go and why we think we need to go there. A waste management plan includes waste reduction, reuse, recycling, recovery, and residential disposal policies and programs that are cost-effective, socially acceptable, and financially and environmentally sustainable for the long term, and which supports local landfill policies. The town's waste management plan is a comprehensive, integrated, staged approach that modernizes Strathmore's solid waste management practice for the current and future needs of our community. As part of this new plan, we identified our current system today and evaluated the community's objectives and community's values to identify the future of the town's waste management plan. So our current waste management plan, summarized, is we have weekly manual curbside solid waste collection of a maximum of 3 units per residence. The service is provided by a private contractor with a contract expiring on December 31st, 2017. Additional waste bag service above the 3 units for an additional fee administered by the town. A heavy item garbage program that picks up and disposal of approved list of heavy items 5 times a year, administered by the town through a free tag system. Our town recycling facility utilized by residents for approved mixed-use recyclables. This facility is operated under contractor that expires in 2023. A take it or leave it program located at the recycling facility where residents can take or leave gently used items that are not reused are disposed of and paid for through the recycling contract. Residents also have the opportunity to utilize private curbside mixed recycling. So that's a nutshell of what we have in town today describing the solid waste program. So when we looked at that, we looked at our key objectives. We want to waste reduction, we want to divert from landfills, we want to reuse, recycle, cost-effective, socially acceptable, financially stability, and environmental sustainability. Looking at those with our key values, we want to make sure the service is stable, right? That it promotes the well-being of our community. It's transparent. It has pure, predictable, trusted science. So we don't want to take our garbage and not have it disposed properly, and we want it to be done safely. The new waste management plan, where we want to get to, is a waste management program which is administered by one long-term contract. The town will own and maintain key infrastructure to enable effective contract negotiations. If we're going to have a contractor that's renewed over so many years, we want to make sure we own the key elements of that so that we are not held ransom. We want to own our cards, basically. We want to promote reduction, reuse, and recycling through communication and education. We want to have an automatic curbside collection program to maximize collection of effectiveness, diverting organics, mixed-use recycling from solid waste stream and the landfill. A community-based drop for items excluded from the curbside program. So, due to the complexity of this waste management plan, and with all the different elements we currently have, the first stage will be to replace the current manual solid waste plan, which expires at the end of this year, with a new 5 to 7 year contract that provides automatic curbside black cart and green cart service. The automatic service requires that we have standardized carts, which the town is planning to purchase and own and maintain. We will maintain the HIG garbage collection, the recycling yard, the take it and leave it, and increase the education and communication to get a better buy-in. We believe that this program, although it's not all at once, will meet our current contract obligations, give sufficient notice to the private providers of alternate solutions in the town, and get us to where we want to get to. Any questions?
Thank you, Mark. Very good, well put together. Any questions of council? Lights? Counselor Sobel?
Thank you, Your Worship. So in the new waste management plan, Mark, when you're talking about key infrastructure, are you only dealing with carts, or are we planning on going elsewhere with key infrastructure?
Currently, we're just looking at carts.
Okay. And with this, if I could, a couple more questions.
Go ahead, Your Worship.
Would this, the waste management plan, I take it, deals only with waste, so it would not involve recycling end of a contract, or does it?
Ultimately, the plan is, currently they're separate, and ultimately the waste management plan is to combine that into one waste management, so we're dealing with recyclables, organics, and solid waste.
Gotcha. So when we, should the, or would the HIG program be included in the list of, in the system that we're proposing?
When I say the HIG, it's currently, and it's also going to be in stage one. What we said, ultimately, that will come back to council's direction on that. We want to provide the alternate for things that are not curbside recycling. How that's dealt with in the future, that's still to be determined.
That's fine. But I just want to make sure that we're still including it in the.
In stage one, it's still in, it will be, we are going to be transferring that into the recycling contract.
Counselor Pugh?
Thank you.
I'm sorry.
Thank you, Your Worship. Just a quick question through the chair to Mark. Mark, this waste management plan, do you see it being an umbrella, kind of an approach to residences like condos as well? How do you envision curbside or that kind of an approach? As far as, I had a question from a resident about, what if I'm, really keen on getting involved in recycling, but I live in a condo unit? How would that work?
I believe we can cover that off within the plan with the item that we said, community-based drop-off for items excluded from the curbside program. So currently, the idea there, just like the city of Calgary, we'd have some system where people that don't have curbside collection from our automatic system would have the opportunity to drop it off at some facility.
Okay, thank you.
I just have one question. Since the recycle yard is privately owned, how do we tie I know it's somewhat tied in with us now, and it's a bit complex, again, and we love it. Everybody in town loves it. There's no question about that. They're doing a great job, and it's just phenomenal, the people that talk about it. And not only the give and take, but there's the drop off of the washing machines and all that stuff. How do you envision tying all this into the whole umbrella?
That will be part of that. When we get to the end of our current recycling program, that'll be that 5 to 7 years in that range, and that 2023, we will be putting together a package that will combine all those. And if it's a current provider, they will could use their site. If it's a different provider, they would have to come up with a site. It's very broad at this stage because that's next 2-3 stages, and I really need input from councils on where that's going to go. This is the broad strokes. General, this is where the goalposts we're trying to aim for, and we're going to zigzag to try getting there. And I need the definition to help from council to get there.
Thank you. Councilor Peterson, yes. I'm colorblind, I can't see the red.
I know. Thank you, Worship. One of the things, Mark, that we discussed in the process of developing a strategy or a plan, we talked about, and you talked about very eloquently about corporate consciousness. And I guess I sort of see it here in the values that you've outlined. But I don't see it as a statement in and of itself. And I think that one of the hottest books to hit the shelves lately is I think it's called The New Performance Culture, or The New Perform Culture, and they're talking about how this is the new currency, that corporate consciousness is the new currency that we're dealing with, and that they want it built into all plans. And I guess while I like this plan, that's something that I'd like to see more clearly outlined. I don't know exactly how to do that. I guess I'd like to see a statement about that.
So if I may, what I'm understanding is that this is talking more about the change in the corporate culture, the triple bottom line, the social responsibility, environmental stewardship, things such as that.
Good, all of those things, yes.
These are the things that you want us to include to meet those.
Well,
those
we've
ultimate-
talked a lot about
Yes.
becoming a different culture
Yep,
here,
yep.
a different kind of corporate culture.
Yeah.
And that's a big part of it. I mean, Counselor Sobel's been talking about it for years, and I'd just like to see it articulated, like you just said.
Yeah, we can do that.
Thank
And
you.
that's why we put it to council. We want to get some more feedback on it, but we are now composting. We have a little bin by the stove, with coffee grinds in it, by the way. Which are really, really good, because they have lots of nitrogen. I'll be quiet now, sorry.
Thank you.
If not any more comments or questions, I would just like to add one thing, is that I've had many people come to me and say, Counselor, that the road going down to the recycling yard is atrocious. And it's washboardy, and it's dusty, and everything else. Is there any plans in this whole program to pave it? Or can we?
We'd have to look at the streets, I don't know what the master planning documents talk about.
I'm sure that's not in the near future, because
I have no idea. We can look at it.
I would ask if I could just look at it.
We'll just,
Yeah, I believe it deteriorated quite heavily when we put in the new sanitary trunk from the wastewater treatment plant, and it never recovered from previously. It was always a cold mix road, which is basically we just throw millings and some ash, some oil on it. So I think that's something we could bring forward in budget considerations and in the projects. If that's something council would like, we can definitely bring that into the fall workshop.
It goes back to first impressions with public, and then they are questioning it big time. So I more than one would like it, if council would. Thank you.
It's a few bucks.
Yeah. All right, no further questions? We're doing a motion on this?
I've done lots of them.
Do we need someone to do the motion? Councillor Sobel?
I would move that council approve the implementation of the waste management plan with stage 1 to include an automated curbside solid waste and organics cart collection system.
You all heard the motion. Any more questions? If not, all in favor? Motion carried. Thank you. Thank you, Mark. Now, page,
And they'll add in the corporate consciousness stuff. We don't need to put that in an amendment.
No.
We'll include it.
Okay, yeah, thank you. 7.4, curbside solid waste and recycling. Page 69, this is the one we're going to, go ahead.
Thank you, Your Worship. How?
Yes, I was going to recommend, there's 2 members of council not present, and because this is such a big issue, we would propose that if council would give consideration to move postponement to committee of the whole, we would also like to propose that we bring some show and tell, so we could bring some samples of different purveyors and colors and stuff, and so that if that would be agreeable to council, we would like to recommend that.
Thank you very much.
So move, your worship.
You heard the motion, all in favor? Carried.
We just been moving along.
Ultrasound, page, 71. Is there someone speaking to this? Administration?
Thank you, Your Worship. Your Worship, earlier this year, Dr. Fanning came to council with a request for a letter of support to the College of Physicians and Surgeons for them to consider teleultrasound services in Strathmore. This is just a thank you note back from Dr. Fanning to council for the letter, and also explaining to council that the request was rejected.
Thank you.
Your Worship, I was, when we were talking about the issue of hemodialysis and issues that Councillor Blockland has brought forward with the absolute stresses on the handy bus, bringing people to appointments for this very reason. Again, I was speaking to counterparts in other jurisdictions, neighboring jurisdictions, and they are very willing to bring this forward again as an AUMA issue to the health minister specifically to take it out of the hands of the College of Physicians and Surgeons, or not to take it out, I guess you can't, only the health minister could do that, but to ask for a different strategy for small towns to be able to access these services, which would be, which are very portable and very doable. And as Dr. Fanning pointed out to us, there's no reason why they shouldn't be here, and it would be a great comfort to people who are in pain and discomfort and can't take their loved ones with them on trips to go to Calgary often because the handy bus is full, or because of the cost of doing so. It's worthwhile to pursue this, and I haven't talked to Dr. Fanning about doing that, but I really do think that we have lots of support from our neighboring municipalities, and we should do that. And I just want to say to council, it's something that I'll be bringing up within the next month.
Thank you. Councillor Sobel?
Thank you, and just a question, I guess, to administration in regards to that issue, which I think is a great one, and I'd love to see that at the floor of AUMA. Is it, are we still in time to submit?
I think we're too late this year. I looked it up, yeah. I think we're too late.
Thank you. I'm sorry, I'm just thinking, I don't want to lose these two items, because they should be worked on over the next
Year.
9 months or so, and make sure that we get this in, I guess, for 2018.
There is great excitement among our fellow municipalities to be able to do the same thing, to work with our primary care network, and to work with all of our local physicians, and to, in every community, there's physicians willing to have this in their clinics, and we're all facing the same thing.
Yeah, so I don't know if, does administration have some suggestions?
I'll be bringing
as
a
to
motion
how-
forward before the end of the month. Yeah, is that okay?
I'll leave that,
Yeah, I just need to, I want to talk to the physicians group first. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you. So we're looking for a motion to accept this report as information.
Also move.
You heard the motion, all in favor? Carried. Wheatland Lodge, Councillor Peterson.
Every month, the Wheatland Lodge has a group that puts forward a birthday party, and council has been asked to do the November birthday party. I think it's an excellent opportunity for a sitting council to impose something on a future council, and that we should do that. And I'd be prepared to make a motion that the council of Strathmore, maybe with some help from Ms. Swatsky, who's so very, very good at doing these things, that we would plan a birthday party for the November, I think it's the third Thursday in November at Wheatland Lodge.
Are you making a motion?
I am, I did. Thank you.
You all heard the motion? All in favor?
Absolutely.
Steve's birthday is September 30th.
November 15th.
I think it's the third Thursday in November, but I'll get back to you.
No, sorry,
Can
Go ahead.
Can I speak on that?
that's your,
So,
is it your birthday?
just to backtrack here, so you want council to show up and do this birthday party on November 15th?
Well, we'll figure it out how we're going to do it. Not all council wouldn't have to be there, but we just are the sponsor.
And we're gonna encumber this on future councils.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
None of us might be sitting here on.
that's
November
right, absolutely. That's, I said, it's an ideal opportunity,
This
yeah.
is the best part of the job.
15th. Okay, I see what you're getting at.
Yeah.
You're okay with it? Yep. Okay, thank you. 7/7 World Cerebral Palsy Day. Looking for a motion.
Yeah, I'm prepared to do that.
Go ahead, Councillor
I would
Sobel.
move that council proclaim October 6th, 2017 as World Cerebral Palsy Day in Strathmore.
Thank you, you said it much better than I. You heard the motion, all in favor? Carried. Councillor Peterson, do you want to speak to something?
Already?
No, you're-
No, I'm sorry.
The Ranch, 7/8, Ranch Lift Station, page 85. Go ahead, Mark.
Thank you, Your Worship. The ranch lift station. Ranch lift station was constructed in 2005 and identified as needing substantial repairs in 2015. A capital project was approved in 2017 for the inspection, assessment, and repair of the lift station. Prior to that, it was unsafe for us to actually enter into the lift station due to deterioration. EPCOR has been approved as the lead on this project and proceeded to procure engineering from SEMA Plus. SEMA Plus completed their assessment in April and began working with EPCOR to determine the final design and repair upgrades need to be done. The request for quotation was closed on August 23rd, 2017, and 2 valid submissions were received and reviewed by EPCOR and SEMA Plus. EPCOR is recommending to increase the budget to $765,000 from the original $300,000. The reason we need to do this, the ranch lift station has been deemed unsafe for staff to enter, thus making preventive maintenance impossible. If the lift station were to fail, it would directly affect sanitary service to many residents on the east side of town. In conclusion, the council, we ask council to approve the increase from $300,000 to $765,000 to complete the ranch lift station safety repairs and pump rebuild capital project, with construction being awarded to Kimby Development Limited. Questions?
Thank you. Mark, any questions? Councillor Councillor Lokeland, I didn't see whose late was on first, sorry.
I think he was.
Councillor Field, you were on first.
Sure, okay, thank you, Your Worship. Thanks, Councillor Blokeland. My question through the chair to Mark is, where would the additional funds come from as far as this project? You're increasing from 300,000 to 765,000, so maybe this is a question through the chair to admin. Sorry, Mark. Where would these funds come from?
Have you identified it already or not?
Mel was away, so what I thought was MSI, if there's any left, and then we go to stabilization.
Yeah, there is MSI. There's unallocated MSI.
The original budget was
Yeah.
from MSI, the
Yeah.
300,000 was from MSI.
Yeah.
And there's still some left in MSI.
Councillor Blokeland, and then, go ahead.
My turn? Thank you, Your Worship. Through the chair to Mark, I have a statement and a question. How can, my statement being, how can something that was constructed in 2005 and 10, 11 years now later, it's deemed unsafe? Don't we build better structures than that for municipalities?
This is a long story. It was approved, I don't want to get too technical because I end up getting too technical sometimes, so I'm just trying to. The lift station was built by a developer with the development of the Walmart side, all of the ranch area, and they constructed it. We had a process at the time that we'd follow where our standards did not exist. We'd follow the City of Calgary standards. And so the time the administration directed them to follow the City of Calgary standards, they said the City of Calgary doesn't have standards. Well, then they said, well, build them as per the City of Calgary does. So they went out and they found a lift station that was built like this, which was into Bonnybrook wastewater treatment plant. That we didn't think it was a really great design at the time for this system. It wasn't really appropriate. However, we had no way to go back on that at the time, the administration. So it was decided at the time to accept the product. And that's one of the reasons is the design itself originally was probably not the appropriate use.
Okay, and my question then would be to approve an increase from $300,000 to $765,000. Was the $300,000 originally to try and fix this thing, or?
Yes, that 300,000 was the original budget. However, we had not inspected it to know how, because it was unsafe to even get in there. We needed to, in order to get in there, and you had to do all the safety stuff just to go in to do an estimate. You might as well do all the work at the same time.
So this entire lift station is I don't know, fill me in here, is it, you're taking it down and building a brand new one?
No, they're still going to be using the wet wells and putting new pumps in there and putting new railings and new ventilation and changing the roof hatch so they can do more maintenance. Some of the problems is they don't have proper safety railings they've been eroded out from all the gases and stuff.
Okay, and I have a question for the CAO there. How much more can our financial stabilization account handle? It seems like every meeting we're going back and forth to this account.
If memory serves, Mel tells me there is a couple of million left. We are going through. That said, we would prefer to slow it down. However, this one, we can't recommend to do that, so.
Oh, I understand that. Thank you, Mark.
Oh, and one other question, can I do the chair to Mr. Blomkin? After this occurred, EPCOR developed town of Strathmore lift station standards that we now use. So this was done in 2007. 2006, they actually implemented our own town standards. So this will not happen again.
So this will be the last issue we have with these lift stations.
Any new lift station after 2006 should follow our new standard, and we
Okay.
will not have the same issue.
Thank you.
Councillor Sobel?
So we're going with option 2, obviously, is that correct?
I believe so, yes.
That was a decision made in June of 17.
That's correct.
You're satisfied that option 1, which is maintaining the enclosure and upgrading, is not viable?
Based on our operator EPCOR and what they believe, we don't want to go back there again because the reason the safety issue was lack of ventilation and all those kind of things. So I believe that's the reason for the fundamental there. I think it gives us a longer life for the dollars at the end of the day.
Okay, thank you.
I just got one question. If this is, there's only one guy that's bidding on it, wasn't it?
There were two.
There were two? Okay, I'm sorry, I missed. Okay, I just heard the one, yeah. Yeah, all right, thank you. Yeah. You all heard the statements, questions, any more further comments? None, we need a motion.
I'd move that council approve an increase from $300,000 to $765,000 to complete the Ranch Lift Station Safety Repair and Pump Rebuild Capital Project, with construction to be awarded to NIB Developments Limited, and the funds to be taken from financial stabilization, well, from MSI, and then whatever is remaining from financial stabilization.
All heard the motion. There's no further questions. All in favor? Carried. EPCOR contract update. Is that you, Mark? You got the floor.
Thank you, Your Worship. The town of Strathmore and EPCOR Water Services have held a service agreement since June 21st, 2000, and have renegotiated approximately every 5 years. This will be the last amendment and update to this 20-year agreement. This contract is set to be concluded on, unfortunately, there's an error in the problem here. It shouldn't be December 31st, it should be June 31st, 2020. During the term of the agreement, EPCOR has worked with the town to manage, operate, and maintain, repair, replace, and enhance the town's own water, wastewater, and underground storm systems. This is the final negotiations This final negotiation began in early 2016 and has I'm losing my voice tonight, sorry. Entitled a complete review and update to the contract requirement and to maintain and improve the service levels to the town. We've done a thorough review of these amendments, and we believe this is in the town's best interest. We will have to be going out to a new RFP, as we are not, under the MGA, allowed to go beyond 20 years with any service contract. So we're asking right now, as the administration is recommending that council approve the mayor and council to sign the amended and restated water, wastewater, storm drainage utility service agreement between the town of Strathmore and AFCOR Water Services.
Thank you, Mark. Any questions of council? Councilor Fuel?
Thank you, Your Worship. Just a quick question through the chair to Mark. I know you mentioned the 20-year agreement that was in the past. What would you think would be a proper length of time to sign a future agreement? I know we've been tied into this one for such a long time.
To the chair, to Mr. Furl. I guess this is something that I was going to bring forward to the next council to get direction from council on how we want to proceed. Do we want to go, I believe we want to go back to a contract model. That's our preference. But however, it's still the council's decision on the method that we go forward with, right? So I was going to bring that as a separate motion.
Okay,
forward.
thank you. Your Worship, I would move that council,
Councilor Peterson? Or do you want to?
I'm sorry. I'd wait for the motion.
Councilor
I
Soul?
do have a question, though,
Okay.
and then you can have it. So I'm going to, are there any details in regards to what the additional cost is going to be for this amended contract?
If you wish, I could ask Mel to share some details. It's not a huge, because we're already in it, so
Yep,
to speak.
yep. But it's gone up every other time, so I assume it's gone up this time, too.
I think it is big.
I'd really like to know that.
Yeah, we can share you with that. That said, I agree with the discussion. I think there's a bigger discussion down the road that we probably want to get into, and certainly there are some merits that are worth further discussion, and it'll probably take a bit of time. It'll be part of the orientation for the new council as one of the issue papers that we're developing, so.
In regards to the future
Yes.
service provider.
Yeah.
Do you need this, is this needed now? This contract's, well, the contract is set to, there's some time on this in regards to a motion
Sorry, we just.
for this
let-
particular
what-
extension or the amendment? Is this something I can wait till next council meeting? Because I'd like to see those numbers before I vote on
We
this.
certainly can. I would still like to ask, I think it's a situation where we're already in the middle of it. It's not something that we can turn back the clock on, so
I appreciate that.
we'd like to, we really do need to sign off on this. And so I'd still like to recommend authorization to sign it. And certainly, we can provide you more information, but as Mark said, it is extremely complicated. It's not a short discussion.
You're saying it's a long discussion in regards
Yes.
to the
The bigger,
future?
the long-term bigger
Yeah,
thing.
I'm only focused, I'm only
Okay.
focusing on the amended and amended contract, though. That's the only thing I'm interested in, nothing that I appreciate where we're going in the future and how complicated and complex that's going to be, but I'd
It's
like-
up to council. We can do it now, we can do it in a week. What's your pleasure? I think we're okay.
I appreciate that it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
The contract's there.
Yep.
But if we kept this away for a week, it would be my position that way I know I'm going to
Yeah.
get some figures and
That's okay.
have a look at this, and then at least I know what I'm signing. At this point, I don't.
Councilor Peterson?
Yeah, I follow up from that, absolutely. I don't like living in a world where water has become a corporate entity. But if it is, and it is, and it's not one that we infiltrate very easily, I agree with Councillor Sobel. I just like to see the pieces involved, and I'm excited that you're going to do a position paper as a member of community, regardless of who sits behind this desk, having a handle on that. And I think there are huge opportunities. And as you're working on that position paper, I encourage you to talk to Sixica, who are in the process of putting in a large reservoir and looking at some very creative measures for water preservation.
We'll just be looking at some position papers
Yes.
for the new council to look, just so they have some idea of what
the complexity.
might be down the road, so. Thank you.
Councilor Silver, do you want to?
Sorry, question, sorry.
No, I don't have any other questions.
Not for me, I just want one comment, but Councilor Fuel, are you okay with that?
Yeah, I never quite made the motion anyway, I got stopped, so that's good.
I was just want one comment is that, when we signed this horrendous $8.2 million contract plus, for water and sewer, well, I always felt that, well, what have I got it to compare it to? I don't know if that's good, bad, or ugly. I mean, we have nobody to compare it to. And I don't think that's fair to us, or the taxpayer. I mean, is there any comments you guys can provide that in other provinces even, or for the amount of per capita that, is this a fair, I mean, maybe I'm asking the impossible. I don't know, but it doesn't seem right. I don't sign anything in my life in business that I would just, okay, go ahead, do it.
Yeah, if I may, I think when the town signed on back in the day, they signed on for a long-term commitment, and this is where we're at. The challenge today is with the complexity of running a tertiary sewer treatment plant. It's extremely difficult to hire the Class 4 operators that are required for those plants. It's almost impossible. It's worse than trying to find radiologists or anesthetists or some of those specialty medical things. It's very, very difficult. It just is what it is. And that's why many of the there are many regional treatment entities now throughout Canada because it's just such a complicated system. They need to be large, sophisticated in order to attract the talent to operate them. The small little lagoon systems are going away. And it's where it's moving, and that's why the Calgary region, I think, is being pushed for infrastructure. I think it's just the way of the times.
Let's go to AMA and have the province take it over.
I think AMA needs to push to have more Class 4 operators.
Yeah,
We
we
need
desperately need more Class 4
There needs to be
operators.
more, the issue is contract in-house, any of those, there's only, I don't know how many there's just so few of them that they're tied up with EPCOR, they're tied up with the city of Calgary. We have, our plant is as complicated as the city of Calgary.
Yep.
We have the same requirement for operators levels as the city of Calgary.
Yeah. And they're
Okay, thank you. Councilor Peterson?
Well, I would just suggest that is a huge problem. But
Huge problem.
owning water is the first problem. Ownership of water is I think, a greater problem, and control of that ownership is the,
You're referring to water license.
I am so.
Yeah, that's a.
And that's a whole other thing, but
Whole
it
other-
can't be ignored in the scope and sequence of what you're speaking to. And as the pond shrinks, the animals look at each other a little differently, and so, yeah, we have lots of work to do.
Councilor,
I'll just make the motion to adjourn or to postpone this matter until next week, which is the 13th. Committee of the
Yep.
Whole.
thank you. Y'all heard the motion. All in favor? Carried. Reports from council, councilors and committees. I want to say council committee reports. Anybody got some? Councilor Peterson? Pardon me? No.
Very, very briefly, the Strathmore Overnight Shelter has almost completed their very, very expensive sprinkler system, and they will, for all intents and purposes, I think, be up and running by this winter. And Pastor Dawn talked about how pressures of homelessness are increasing. She's seeing that regularly in communities, so we're grateful for that. And the seniors are working very diligently on researching housing options for seniors in community, and will be coming to present to council. They've got some really interesting information. That's all I have, Your Worship.
Thank you. Any questions between councilors and, with kind of an important one, any questions between councilors and administration? Well, Councilor Blokland?
Are we still on committee reports?
Yes, okay, sorry. Yeah. Go ahead. I'm just trying to get along here.
Okay, thank you, Your Worship. Just a couple of things on an interesting WDEMSA meeting last night. Our local WDEMSA is operating at a 7.1% increase on call volume over 2016. The interesting part about this is being dispatched from Calgary, Calgary, right? The calls are different in nature than they were before. They're doing more flex calls. We'll send an ambulance into Calgary, and that same ambulance, the one day, the other day, it ended up in Callaway Park on a call. And the ones we do send into the city, they're actually doing calls in the city. The changes to the 911 call center in the future by 2023, as mandated by the CRTC, they will be able to track cell phones, have the ability for hearing impaired, video images, and to pinpoint location of these exact calls. So that's going to be very nice. And the other thing was Alberta Health Services are very happy with WDEMSA operations, which we fought for quite hard a couple of years ago to keep here. And they sound like, they haven't said 100% for sure, but they sound like they will extend our 5-year contract, which expires in 2018, and we will move on to the two-year contracts. That is very good for our operation, as there is some private, or not private, but some operations that are getting discontinued and are getting centralized. So WDEMSA is here to stay, it looks like. Thank you.
Thank you. If someone would like to move that we take this,
I'd move for information, Your Worship.
thank you. All in favor? Carried. We'll go right to 12.1,
8.2, Your Worship.
Committee report.
committee reports. That's what we're doing? Okay,
No,
go ahead.
those were external, and these are council.
The internal.
You're right, sorry.
And if I may?
Yep.
I know you want to get through. I'm sorry, I have two issues that I would like to raise, and they both result from committee meetings that were held in July. The first, as council will recall, when we received the delegation consisting of Jennifer Newfield and Lisa Fox of Sustainability Resources. During that conversation, council learned that a rural prosperity initiative involving a rural innovation forum will take place right here in Strathmore on November 9th. This is the type of forum which could lend a great deal of knowledge to members of the town's sustainability committee. In conversation with those volunteers, it was revealed that there may be as many as 3 members interested in attending. The registration cost for this forum is $50 per person. As council is aware, the Sustainability Committee has no budget, so it is my request that council consider approving funds for these persons to attend. My motion is that council approve the registrations for any Strathmore Sustainability Committee members wishing to attend the November 9th, 2017 Rural Innovation Forum being held in Strathmore.
Y'all heard the motion? Any questions? If not, all in favor?
Thank you. My second committee issue arising out of committee is that as per the minutes of July 18th Traffic Advisory Committee, a discussion item centered around the possibility of the committee as an arm of the town applying to the Alberta Traffic Safety Fund. The purpose of the ATSF is to encourage communities and other traffic safety stakeholders to develop and implement community-based, preventative, and collaborative traffic safety projects that support the strategies in Alberta's traffic safety plan. The committee's intention would be to focus on school and playground zones and would involve basically heightening the visibility of these zones to the motoring public in a number of ways. The committee would be happy to share with council a copy of the grant application once it's completed. Therefore, on behalf of the committee, I would move that council support the Traffic Advisory Committee's project to seek funding from the Alberta Traffic Safety Fund, which will be focused on increasing the visibility of school and playground zones in Strathmore.
Y'all heard the motion? Any questions? If not, all in favor? Carried.
Thank you.
Now we'll go right down to 12.1, Councillor Fuel.
Thank you, Your Worship. I just had a question to administration concerning, I've had a lot of questions and comments in the last while concerning potential new ice surface or an extension or an addition to the current arena. I'm wondering if administration, if we could possibly direct administration to look into maybe terms of reference for creation of a committee to look at an arena? That would be it, Your Worship.
Thank you. Is that just a request, or is it
It just,
motion?
it's a motion. When would you like would you like to look at it? No,
November?
November, yes.
Yep.
Absolutely.
I know you guys are pretty busy right now.
That would be, yep, we can do that.
Yeah, thank you. If there are no further questions, y'all heard the motion. Do you want to repeat it? All in favor?
I could make it as a motion, I really.
We talk it
Okay.
We took it as a motion. Carried. Anything else, Councilor Gill?
No, thanks.
Councilor Sobel?
Thank you. On 12-2?
Yep.
I think we're in.
No, it's okay.
I was a little surprised.
Did that
She-
deliberately.
It's just because she talks so long.
Okay, and I don't?
Yeah.
Right. So I guess I'll just start by saying that the anniversary of a marriage is always something that should be celebrated, It is rare that a couple would be fortunate enough to celebrate their 50th anniversary together. However, such is the case with two of our residents. They are both active members of our community, especially when it comes to the Strathmore Lions Club. It gives me great pleasure to extend congratulations to Betty and Bruce Bishop on the occasion of their 50th anniversary. I would also move that a letter of congratulations be forwarded to Betty and Bruce Bishop from Mayor and Council.
Very good. Any questions? If not, all in favor? Carried.
Thank you.
That- Councilor Peterson?
I had just a request of administration to add 3 things to an upcoming meeting to where you think it would belong. One is the issue of developing a snow angel program in community. One is the issue of the tele-ultrasound for action. And the third one is for STARS consideration. Those are 3 items that I would like on a future agenda. That's all I have, Your Worship.
Okay, administration?
Just to clarify, for the STARS, it's a financial one, but it's not a big one. I have known other communities to do the $2. Does council wish to consider, in principle, referral of the $2 for budget consideration? It doesn't bind you, but it does at least give STARS something that they could work with.
That was going to be my motion, was to put it onto the planning for budget consideration. Yes, yeah, thank you.
So, you're making that, Councilor Sobel?
Sorry, go ahead.
You're making that as a motion, Councilor Peterson?
Not now. I just need it on a future agenda so we can have the numbers.
So, this is information at this point.
Just information, that's all. I just want
Okay.
to put on an agenda.
Just want to be sure. Thank you.
That's all.
Councilor
I
Sobel?
would just make a comment that I believe there is a Snow Angel program already in existence. It's not associated with any.
FCSS?
No, and that may be what you're talking about, but there is, I guess that's more for administration's
No,
information
don't
than
have a clue,
anything.
But would love to
Yeah.
bring that forward, yeah.
Tracy's actually already on this.
Of course she is.
So I brought the information forward to the seniors, right? The seniors asked me to develop yeah, and so the outcome of that was FCSS acting director said, this can't possibly happen. We really didn't know why, so we said, well, we'll just keep working until we get it right. We're not sure what we haven't done correctly, but we'll keep working on it. So I wasn't aware of that. Did you get it, the package through FCSS? Is that where it came through?
I'm not really sure where it came from, but I'm on my desk.
All right. No wonder you're sending your employees to your meetings. Thank you.
That's it? Thank you. 13-1, Councilor Sobel, Strathmore Lakes Pathway.
Well, I think when I raised this issue, there was nothing going on the north side of Strathmore Lakes in regards to a path, nothing to connect the one path to the one side, the east side of the paved path to the west side of the paved path. Since then, our administration, our personnel have been kind enough to get a pathway cleared to connect those roads. It's dirt or gravel, I believe, and somebody else can chime in here anytime they want. But my ultimate question is going to be when, if possible, can we see our way to somehow maneuver some paving, even if it's something that we have to do prior to development and then recoup those costs from the development. It's kind of silly to have that path the way it is right now. Thanks.
So yes, we will be putting in, I believe, a modified surface. It will not be paved at this time, but at least it will be connected. And certainly, I would propose that the new budget discussions would be referred, because it's a few grand should the path be paved, and I don't believe there's sufficient money to finish that whole thing. No, there is not. So that's a future discussion. And we probably won't ever.
But that would be something that we would, that we would take back from the developer, would it not be?
That was the original intention, but we were finding out there's some missing parts to it. So that's why we've taken the initiative and just wanted to finish what we can, and we're gonna.
Leave it in your hands.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Councillor Zobel. Councillor 13-2, Councillor timelines for site remediation. Councillor Blugland.
Thank you, Your Worship. Could I send this over to Jen and she can read it off? And I just have a couple of things to say to it after. Jen?
Your Worship, the inquiry reads, is there a timeline for sites to be remediated after demolition? Also, how long do developers have to redevelop a site? As an example, the property on Lakeside Boulevard